Welcome. I would like to welcome you to episode 520 of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. Here at the Unpopular Podcast, now we asked you to agree with me. I'm asking you to hear me out. I said that the start of August, I'm going to start really getting heavy into football. And I'm going to start my divisional breakdown with this episode. And I'm going to start with the AFC South. But there's something that I have to talk about beforehand. When an organization that is known for doing smart things, that has an extensive track record on good moves, when they do something that is questionable, it really, I'm not going to say red sirens start flashing, but it's really noticeable. Now, what I'm obviously talking about is the Spurs giving De'Aaron Fox a 4-year, $229 million max extension. A lot of this is going to sound like hate. I know it is, but I'm just being honest, and obviously this is my opinion. I think De'Aaron Fox is a good player. I think what De'Aaron Fox brings to a basketball team is a lot more positive than negative. In fact, I'll go as far as saying that De'Aaron Fox, his skill set, his offensive repertoire is important for a team like the San Antonio Spurs. But there is no universe, in my opinion, especially after everything we've seen. There's no way that I would consider De'Aaron Fox a max player. The fact that he doesn't play much defense, and I hear that because there are players like Luka Doncic. He signed his extension. We'll talk about that in a second. You know, people like Steph Curry may not play the greatest of defenses, but players like that, their scoring output much outweighs the fact that you may not be the best defender. The prime example of that is Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard really has never really been that much of a defender, but the fact that he's one of the best offensive guards we've seen makes up for the fact of he doesn't play much defense, same as Luka. De'Aaron Fox is not on that list. De'Aaron Fox's offense does not, I know he won Clutch Player of the Year a couple years ago, but I don't think anyone would consider him a top-tier offensive guard. Nobody would consider him a top-tier defensive guard. So if you're not top-tier, if you're not top 5, top 3 in either defense or offense, why would you give that player a max extension? On top of that, some of the weaknesses that De'Aaron Fox has on the floor is glaring. And I know that he was a big acquisition last year, but what has he done to prove that he is a max player? Because honestly, to this point, I haven't seen it. To this point, he's not a max player in my opinion. He's a good player. That's the thing. I think he's a good player. I think he has great attributes, but I think he's just a good player. I don't think if you bring De'Aaron Fox to a team, you're an automatic championship caliber team. I really don't even think if you bring De'Aaron Fox to the team, you're necessarily a playoff team in the sense of if you weren't a playoff team before De'Aaron Fox, I don't think he just turns you into a playoff team. He's not even the best player on the Spurs, which is going to kind of bleed into my next point, but it's like I said, when an organization that is known for making smart moves, and I'm not calling this a dumb move, because there could be things at play that I don't see, but you're talking about an organization that has been somewhat rigid, but in a good way, on how they do business. An organization that has done great business with Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. The only time you really saw cracks in their business, honestly, was with Kawhi Leonard, but that was more of a personal thing. The Spurs organization has a reputation of being one of those franchises that is going to do right by their players, and on top of that is going to do what's best for the organization. While yes, they did right by De'Aaron Fox, it's like, again, I don't think there's any metric out. If you look at speed, if we're giving speed max contracts, then yes, De'Aaron Fox is a max contract player. I think he's one of, if not the fastest player in basketball. But it's like, what metric are you looking at to say that De'Aaron Fox is a max contract player? Because I don't see it. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe, you can trade him. This contract damn near makes it impossible to trade him, at least for the next few years. Because I don't know many teams that's not only going to take on De'Aaron Fox as a max contract player, but I don't know many teams that's going to have a max, like a slot for him because of how much he cost. It's baffling to me that they gave him this contract. Again, I'm all for people getting paid. I feel like I have to say this almost every time there's a contract talk. I'm all for players getting paid. And I'm all for players getting paid what they feel they're worth. And obviously, De'Aaron Fox and his representation felt he was worth the max contract extension. My thing is, I can't walk into an organization. I can't walk into, YouTube. I can't walk into Google and saying, I'm worth $100 million and have no data to back up me saying I'm worth $100 million. Now, if they want to go ahead and pay me that, cool. But there's no data right now saying I could feel that I'm worth $100 million, but there's no data that backs that up. I don't know the data that backs up De'Aaron Fox. That's the thing. I did a quick, when I was doing research and when I was compiling this show, I did a quick top 10. I did a quick, who are the top 10 guards in the league? And what was even more staggering to me is how many people I got to before I got to De'Aaron Fox. Because no particular order, I don't think De'Aaron Fox is better than Jalen Brunson. I don't think De'Aaron Fox is better than Donovan Mitchell. Well, if you want to call Donovan Mitchell a shooting guard, I don't know if he's better than Darius Garland. I don't think he's better than Cade Cunningham. I don't think he's better than Tyrese Halliburton. I don't think he's better than Damian Lillard. I don't think he's better than Trae Young. I don't think he's better than Luka Doncic. I don't think he's better than Ja Morant. I don't think he's better than Steph Curry. I don't think he's better than James Harden. I don't think he's better than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. How many was that before you think, oh, well, okay, then there he goes, And if you can say that about that many people, is that person really a max contract player? It's again, man. It's just confusing to me. Which brings me to my next point. The Spurs are also known to be really good drafters. They're known to really hit on the draft. Even though it was a draft day trade, they got Kawhi Leonard. They drafted the Admiral. They drafted Manu Ginobili. They drafted Tim Duncan. They drafted someone like Danny Green. Like they're known for hitting on these draft picks or making great draft day trades. And that sentiment is further proven by them getting Dylan Harper and having Stephon Castle, who won Rookie of the Year last year. What we know about Dylan Harper that we saw in college and we saw in his limited time in the summer league is he thrives with the ball in his hand. You're getting the most return for your money when Dylan Harper has the ball in his hand. On top of that, Stephon Castle is the same way. He thrives with the ball in his hand. He thrives with making decisions for the team with the ball in his hand. I don't understand why you paid De'Aaron Fox, who plays the same exact position as both. You already had an issue in figuring out how you're going to maximize both Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle. Because me personally, I think Dylan Harper has to start right away. I don't think that the Spurs are a championship caliber team. I think they have good players. Obviously, you have Wemby, but I don't think they're a championship caliber team. Maybe if they would have got KD, that would have been different, but they didn't. So I don't think you're a champion. You're a very young team. It's, in my opinion, this year is about development. This year is about, okay, we're not going to win a championship. Let's get to another level with Wemby. Let's get to another level with Dylan Harper. Let's get to another level with Stephon Castle. Why did you sign De'Aaron Fox, who plays the same position as Harper, who plays the same position as Castle, and needs the ball in his hand? And on top of that, you gave him a 4-year deal, so it's going to bleed into their contracts. And De'Aaron Fox does not play well without the ball in his hand. He's not good at being an off-ball player. We've seen it. That has been proven. So I just don't understand the play. Again, if you're doing this to trade him, cool, but I don't know how you're going to trade him with that contract now, at least right now. And then you're taking away from touches from a Dylan. If you think, the only way I justify this contract is if you think that a team that you're not going to play Dylan Harper that much. That's one. And two, a team that has De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, and Victor Wembanyama is a championship caliber team. I don't agree with either one. So it's like, I'm all for someone getting their money, but I just don't. It seems like a very, very head-scratching decision. Because this doesn't just have implications for next year. This is, in my opinion, this stunts two very promising. I'm not going to say automatically, but this could stunt two very promising players. It could stunt their growth in Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle because, again, you have three players that virtually play sort of the same way. And one of them is making considerably more in De'Aaron Fox, so he's going to expect to be the lead honcho. And it's just like, again, if you're not going to be a championship caliber team next year, which I don't believe you are, this should be a year of development. This should be a year of, okay, Let's get as many reps as we can with Dylan Harper. Let's get as many reps as we can with Stephon Castle, who just won Rookie of the Year. I'm not saying you don't play De'Aaron Fox. I'm saying you don't pay him $229 million for 4 years. Because he has not shown the ability to play off the ball. So it's like, what are you doing? Look, man. Again, I'm not here saying that. I'm not here saying De'Aaron Fox is a bad player. I'm also not saying that he didn't. Like, I'm happy for him for getting his money. What I'm saying is that this doesn't make any sense, in my opinion, for the Spurs. Like, at all. It doesn't make any sense in the present. It doesn't make any sense for the future. Maybe you just did this because you're a good organization. You had a wink deal, cool. But a wink deal shouldn't. And I'm not saying it will, but it could derail the future of this team. At least the present future, because I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how, because you can't have a max contract player come off the bench. And Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle are going to have to figure out how to play alongside someone like a Victor Wembanyama. That should be present on the Spurs' mind, not, we got to figure out how to integrate all three with no. Because neither one of those players, Dylan Harper didn't do it in college. Stephon Castle definitely didn't do it last year. Neither one of Stephon Castle might be the best out of the three as far as playing off the ball. But I don't know. But congratulations to De'Aaron Fox for getting a max contract extension. They always say your actions are going to speak louder than your words. If you want to know how a person feels about you, if you want to know how someone feels about a situation, look at their actions, not their words. Because people are great at talking. Some people are great at talking. What they're not great at is hiding their intentions through their actions. Anybody that had the ability to trade for Luka Doncic would have done it. I don't know at what price, but almost everyone that had the ability to trade for Luka Doncic would at least, I wouldn't say automatically do it, would at least entertain it. So the Lakers trading for Luka Doncic didn't mean that they were just done with LeBron James. It didn't mean that, okay, LeBron James is out of here. We don't give a damn about LeBron. We're just focused on Luka now. That's not them trading for Luka Doncic didn't spell that. What did spell that is how the season played out with Luka Doncic and LeBron James. And LeBron James picking up his player option, essentially saying, it hampered any moves that the Lakers could have done. And then the Lakers signed Luka Doncic to a 3-year, $165 million extension, the most that they could give him. And I think they said at the end of this deal, so in 4 years, he can be worth upwards of let me say this: the Lakers can give him a $400 million contract. Crazy. I'm not saying that I am saying that. The Lakers are showing you that they're ready to move on from LeBron James. And understandably so. Not saying that LeBron James is trash. Don't hear me say that at all. But you have the quote-unquote heir apparent. You have the next coming for the and I don't mean he's the next Braun. What I'm saying is the Lakers are known for having that next star. The Lakers are known for having a star in general, whether that's Shaq, Kobe, Anthony Davis, LeBron James. They're known for having a star. And LeBron James, it's obviously no secret that he's much closer to the end of his career than the beginning. And Luka is much closer to the beginning of his career, at least that's what it looks like due to his age and everything. He's only 26 years old. He's much closer to the beginning of his career than the end. And there's no question that Luka is a top tier player in this league. Top 10, top 5 for some people. But this whole offseason has felt like a unwilling passing of the torch. I think Luka Doncic definitely deserves this contract. I mean, he's one of the best players in basketball. And it also spells again. The Lakers are trying to start a new beginning, especially you see that they, sold majority stake, or the Butts family sold majority stake without telling their franchise player right now, LeBron James, I think Luka Doncic obviously deserves the money, but there's no way that you can look at this move. Look how it's done. Look at the fact of the people were on congratulations watch with LeBron James. Like it's on top of that, and I understand it because it's LeBron James, arguably the greatest player of all time. Teams tend to give him a lot of power, and rightfully so. His play has warranted that. And when you are a 4-time NBA champion, 4-time MVPs, 4-time Finals MVP, you have earned the ability to have a voice in the room, in my opinion, a loud voice in the room. LeBron James has proven to be a franchise changer. Everywhere he's gone, he has won a championship. So I would understand, and teams understand the value of LeBron. It's LeBron. Not just money value, but, there was a stretch where LeBron James went to, 8 or 10 straight NBA Finals. Like, that there was a point where if LeBron James is on your team, you are you're finals bound. But in giving LeBron James as much power as a lot of teams have given him, there hasn't always been sunshines and rainbows. There's been you having to sign people that may not be a great fit for your team, but that's who LeBron James wants, i.e., the Cleveland Cavaliers signing Dwayne Wade. Or the Los Angeles Lakers signing Russell Westbrook over someone like DeMar DeRozan. I think that the Lakers are at a point where they are done allowing LeBron James to essentially have the GM power. And it's not them trading Luka that spells this. It's the fact that they gave him the 3-year extension now. Because, again, they didn't have to do this. And it is smart that they did this now because, again, they don't. He would have been much more money next year than this year, but still. This whole offseason has been a how do I say this? It's been a window to a new beginning for the Lakers. With ownership, with Luka, and then you have LeBron James. And as much as LeBron James has been to this organization for how long he's been there, again, he brought a championship in 2020. I think this organization, I'm not going to say can't wait, but is looking forward to LeBron James retiring or being off the team. That's all you've heard, really, from LeBron James outside of picking up his player option. All you've heard in regards to LeBron James this offseason has been, is he going to be traded? And how does he feel? How's the organization feel? And the organization is, quote, tired or fed up with LeBron. You know what I'm saying? Where there's smoke, there's fire. You can feel how you feel about these beat reporters. You can feel how you feel about Windhorse, Shams. But they just don't create stories. People come to them at things. Ramona Shelburne, they just don't create stories. So when multiple people are saying that the relationship is kind of rocky between the Lakers and LeBron James, especially after LeBron James picked up his player option, kind of makes sense that the writing is on the wall. And then, LeBron, he always do subtle things like take pictures of him working out at the Clippers organization or Clippers training facility as a Laker. Or he said he does it every offseason, even though this is surprisingly the first offseason we've seen it, but goes back to Cleveland to work out. Especially when there's been rumors of him going back to Cleveland for a quote-unquote retirement tour. This is a new beginning for the Lakers. And I think Luka Doncic obviously deserves the contract extension, and seeing though in 4 years he'll only be 30, he's probably going to get that $400 million contract. But this, again, your actions speak much louder than your words. And the actions are showing that, and you knew this with the age and everything, but the actions are showing that the Lakers are ready for Luka to be the face of that organization, and they're ready for Luka to be the guy. And they're just waiting out LeBron James, essentially. But congratulations to Luka, man. Definitely deserving. Before we get to the NFL, I kind of want to have a quote-unquote heart-to-heart with Joel Embiid. Reports have come out saying that there is fear around the NBA, especially Philadelphia, that Joel Embiid's knee is much worse than expected. And it is a really good chance that he is going to miss the start of training camp because he just can't. His knee is not healing the way that they want it to heal. His knee is just wrecked. And you saw it last year. Last year he didn't play. He didn't look that good at all. He had his moments. Like he had a 70-point game against Victor Wembanyama, but he didn't look great at all. He was laboring most of the time. He missed a lot of the season. I think they had to shut him down. He just did not look good. It was almost physical pain watching him because you understood and you can see he is not even close. Not even close to being okay. Not even close to being 100% because of his knee. And then you saw in the Olympics, which I was very surprised that he participated in the Olympics because of everything that we saw this year. I'm like, I don't know if the Olympics is the way he should, maybe he just needs more time to rest. And then you saw the freaking knee brace the size of a Cadillac converter on his knee. It's like And even in the Olympics he struggled. The last season and a half, he's looked like a shell of the MVP, of the player that a lot of people was comparing him to Nikola Jokic, and obviously he was clear-cut the best or second best center in the league. And then you have this report saying that, again, the league has major concerns about his knee. I start to think about when is it? Obviously, these are decisions that these players make themselves. I don't know Joel Embiid from McKenna Payton. I know damn well he ain't listening. I don't think anybody in his camp's listening. But at what point do you have to start questioning the end? Like, at what point do you start questioning, you know what? This might be it. Because we have to start thinking about, life after. You don't play basketball forever. And this is yet another year where or yet another offseason, yet another year where he's having knee issues. I look at someone like Greg Golden. I look at someone like Brandon Roy. I look at someone like Grant Hill. I look at someone like, to a certain extent, Dwight Howard, who I think careers were dramatically altered due to injury. People always want to bash on Dwight. Bro, Dwight Howard was incredible. He was incredible for Houston until he really started having those back injuries, which really started the end of his Lakers, the Lakers years. The first Lakers years. Obviously, we know Brandon Roy and how his career was cut short due to injury. T-Mac. It's Grant Hill. Grant Hill was supposed to be the first Bron, but he just couldn't do it. I wonder and I question, what is the sign? And when, because I feel personally we are past that point. And I'm not saying that he should just automatically retire, but I think it is, especially last year was a tall tale sign that I don't think we can expect Joel Embiid to be at that MVP level. I think he just has God-given talent that makes him, above a lot of people, but I don't think we can expect Joel Embiid to ever get back to that MVP form. I don't think we can ever expect Joel Embiid to be at a top tier form because it's constant. His body is failing him. So when I think about that, I think to myself, okay, when do you start contemplating the end? If you can't, let alone be an MVP caliber player, but if you struggle to play games, when does that conversation, when does that thought start to get a little louder? You know what? Yeah, I think it might be time. I want the best for every player. You know, I want the best for Joel Embiid. And it just seems like basketball he's laboring more times than not. And as a person, again, I've never played in the NBA, but as a person that has played basketball since he was 5 years old, I understand the difference between going out there feeling healthy and going out there off automatically with an injury and have to play through it. And I understand how taxing that can be. I understand how unfulfilling that can be, especially if you lose. I understand how joyless that can be. Obviously, you want to be out there and play, but sometimes it is just too difficult to play. And you saw that, I mean, when he was out there, it didn't look good. I hope that once he gets to the regular season, that all this is fine, and this is just me talking, and this is just the league's concern. But again, when a report like this comes out, that isn't just like it should be fine, but no. If you read the report, it's spelling he could have chronic knee issues well past basketball. At that point, it's like, all right, how important is basketball really, especially when you don't have a path? I understand that you can say the East is wide open next year, but do you really expect, with the injury history, do you really expect the Sixers with Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey to really go far? Especially when we're talking about Joel Embiid's knee in August. So, again, I pray that, medical miracles happen. But I think Joel Embiid really has to start thinking about when is it time to hang it up. Because at this point, it's almost every single time I hear Joel Embiid's name at this point, it is attached to some type of rehab or some type of injury. And that's not a good sign. Especially when your team is not even remotely good enough, in my opinion, to compete for a championship. Maybe with you completely healthy. But if you really think about it, when was the last time Joel Embiid was completely healthy? When was the last time Joel Embiid was not dealing with any injury? Bro, he missed his rookie year due to injury. Like, come on. That's all I'm saying. I want the best for everybody, and obviously I want that includes Joel Embiid. But it just doesn't feel like basketball is or should be number one on his mind right now. That's all I'm saying. I think that is the end of my basketball talk. And like I said, I wanted to start football, preseason's here. We had the Hall of Fame game. I'm not going to talk about much preseason at all. I'm just going to break down because preseason it means different things for different players and different teams, but it's really about the beginning of the first week of the season, which I believe is September 5th. So I'm going to take most of August to break down all of August to break down the divisions. And the first division that I want to start with is the AFC South, which obviously is the Colts, Titans, Texans, and Jags. And I want to start with the Colts because the Colts, man, especially, and this is more so with Anthony Richardson. At what point do you deem an experiment a success or failure? At what point do you deem a project a success or failure? Like at what point? When do you call, like, you know what, this was a success, or you know what, this was a failure? I feel like we are toting the line and dangerously dangling over failure with Anthony Richardson. Because remember, if you go back, he was a project, he was a project in high school. Then he was a project when he went to college in Florida. Then he was a project as a high first-round pick for the Colts. And I think, shout out to Shannon Sharp and Chloe Shasha, I think they brought it up. I don't think he's ever completed 60%, like completion percent. I don't think he's ever had 60% completion percentage in his career. And then you bring in not just Shane Steichen, who was the Eagles offensive coordinator, but you also bring in Daniel Jones, and I know that they're saying Anthony Richardson has dealt with injuries in his training camp. Cool. But when reports are saying that Daniel Jones, who, if people do not remember, was essentially exiled out of New York for being as bad as he was, and his contract being attached to the non-contract that they gave or didn't want to give Saquon Barkley. That Daniel Jones. The Daniel Jones that was god-awful. They're saying that Daniel Jones is essentially outplaying Anthony Richardson in training camp. Now, you can say it's due to the fact that Anthony Richardson has been hurt. Okay. But it's like, when do you deem a project a success or failure? Because it seems like Anthony Richardson has been a project his entire career. And I'm not going to lie and say that he is just god-awful. Like, Anthony Richardson has promising traits to him. He has traits that could and should translate into winning and translate into being a good NFL quarterback. But he also has traits that drastically hold him back from reaching his full potential. I think number one is his accuracy. Number two is decision making. When you have bad accuracy and you make poor decisions, And I also understand the Colts' urgentness. Because contrary to popular belief, man, Colts have one of the best rosters in at least the AFC. They just drafted Tyler Warren and he was considered one of the, if not the best, tight end in the draft. Obviously, their defense is one of the best defenses in football. But then again, DeForest Buckner, he's getting up there in age. He's 31. I don't know how many times that can keep going back to the well. And I don't know how many times that can continue to lean on someone like Zaire Franklin, who is an incredible defensive player. But as we've seen in the NFL, you can't just have defense. And the craziest part about all this is they have a good offense as well. Whether you talk about Josh Downs, you talk about Michael Pittman, you talk about Jonathan Allen, or Jonathan Taylor, I'm sorry. They have one of the best rosters in football. And this is one of the perfect examples of it don't matter if you don't have the quarterback. Because they haven't had the quarterback. I don't expect much from this Colts team because of the quarterback situation. I think the underlining storyline this year is going to be I think if he does not have a good season, if he doesn't beat out Daniel Jones, this is going to be the last year that Anthony Richardson is a starting quarterback in the NFL. And I know he's young. I know it. But it's like, again, I know he's only 23, but you've been a project since college, and it doesn't seem like, in fact, it seems like all the issues, mind you, this is year, 3 for him? And I know he's young, but all the issues that he had in high school carried him, as far as quarterback mechanics, carried him to college. All the issues as a quarterback he had in college has carried him to the NFL. So this is a huge year for not just the Colts. Because, again, the Colts are good. Shane Steichen, the Colts are good. I think this is a make or break. This is like the last. The patience, I believe, is running. The fact that you bring in Daniel Jones, and we're already hearing Daniel Jones is better than has been better than Anthony Richardson in training camp. Again, I understand that there has been injuries involved, but even still, your best ability is availability. If you're not available and you already have question marks about your play, like, what? Come on. Like, I don't want to be that guy, but, like, I think that this is the I understand we're going to talk about a bunch of quarterbacks, talk about a bunch of people, what this season is important to. But if we're talking about the future of their career, I don't think that there is another player which this season matters more than Anthony Richardson. And I'm not even saying that the Colts have to be, I don't think they have to necessarily win the division or whatever, but they have to. Anthony Richardson has to be a good quarterback. Now, I didn't say great. I said good. He's had moments, but he hasn't been consistent in the slightest. And I think that this is a make or break year for him, more than anybody. And that's why I don't know what to expect from the Colts. Roster-wise, they're really good, especially defense, and they have weapons. They have to go into a team to have Josh Downs, Tyler Warren, Michael Pittman, and Jonathan Taylor, and you're not that good of a team because of your quarterback. That says a lot. So we'll see with the Colts, man. But they, especially Anthony Richardson, and the fact, if you think, I wonder how that locker room is. If you get towards the beginning of the season and they name Anthony Richardson the starting quarterback, and then you start rattling off losses, and then they think to themselves, yo, Daniel Jones gives us a better chance to win. Do you know how bad of a situation that is? When Daniel Jones is looked at to be the better option at the quarterback position? Just saying. But we'll see. You know, let me get to the Tennessee Titans. And I kind of feel bad for the Tennessee Titans. You know what? I feel worse for I didn't address this when it happened because I think it happened a week ago. But let me talk about the Treylon Burks situation. Treylon Burks, who was a very good wide receiver in college, was with the Tennessee Titans. And the Tennessee Titans felt that Treylon Burks, who had such a promising, it was okay, it wasn't great, had such a promising college career, they felt that Treylon Burks out of Arkansas was the next guy, their next number one receiver. And they felt so strong in their opinion that they were okay with trading A.J. Brown. Yes, that A.J. Brown. The A.J. Brown that they traded to the Philadelphia Eagles that is now a top 5 wide receiver in the league, that was incredible at Ole Miss. He was also incredible for the Titans. They traded that A.J. Brown for Treylon Burks. You look 3 years later, Treylon Burks' career has been riddled with injury. Treylon Burks not only could barely see the field, but when he did see the field, he wasn't great because, again, when you're spending a whole offseason rehabbing instead of training, you know. Well, they cut Treylon Burks, or waived Treylon Burks, I think last week. Meaning, they traded a potential future Hall of Famer and A.J. Brown for a player that 3 years later is not even on the team. Sucks. But I look at this current roster that is the Tennessee Titans, and this is going to be a tough year, man. Tyler Lockett, Van Jefferson, Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard. There isn't much around this Cam Ward. Not much at all. One thing I will say about the Tennessee Titans is, for as long as I can remember, they've had a pretty good defense, and they still do. Jeffrey Simmons, Philip Burt. They usually have a good defense, but and that's another thing. Like I wonder what happens with Will Levis. Because Mr. Mayonnaise himself, I know he's supposed to have shoulder surgery, so he's going to be out. I don't know if it's all of the season or majority of the season, but I don't know. But I will say this: it feels like out of all the, and I know he was the number 1 overall pick, but out of all the quarterbacks that were drafted this year, it has seemed like Cam Ward, who, again, I know he was the number 1 overall pick, but it seems like he's had the most seamless transition. Everything that you're hearing from Titans training camp saying, and all the videos that we're seeing, all the sound bites that we're getting from Cam Ward, sounds like he is ready to be quarterback 1, and he's good enough to be a quarterback 1. Obviously, there's going to be I wouldn't expect much as far as winning because, again, I don't know too many rookie quarterbacks outside of Jaden Daniels that really have uber success. And I don't know how much success you're going to have with Calvin Ridley, even though he's good. Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, and Tony Pollard as your weapons. But their defense is going to be okay. That's the best thing I can say about a Titans team, like. And that's how. Now, I am interested to see, with Mike Vrabel gone, I am interested to see how they're able to renew, if their defense is going to be better. But if you look at this entire roster, it doesn't look that great. I'll be real with you. But I think that Cam Ward, everything that we've seen, any question that you've had with Cam Ward, I think that they probably have been answered this training camp. He looked really good, and it looks like he's gonna have a good season. I don't expect much winning, but because I don't think that outside of a few rookie quarterbacks like Jaden Daniels, I don't know too many rookie quarterbacks that their play is so good that it elevates bad teams. But I think Cam Ward's, he puts them in the right direction, and that Treylon Burks story definitely sucks, man. Because I could see the potential. You could see the potential, especially at Arkansas when his player comp was A.J. Brown. So I would understand the Tennessee, even though I don't know why you just wouldn't have 2 of them. But because imagine, you still probably could have got Calvin Ridley because he was coming off the gambling suspension. You could have had A.J. Brown, Treylon Burks, and Calvin Ridley. And I'm not saying that because people are like, well, then Will Levis could have been. No, hell no. Will Levis, I didn't think Will Levis should have been drafted that high coming out of Kentucky. I don't think he was that good. I was shocked that he got drafted when he got drafted, to be honest with you, let alone start. But, yeah. I mean, I don't expect much. In fact, I think that the Tennessee Titans are probably going to be the worst team in the division. I don't know how the Colts are going to be because, again, that quarterback situation, I think that Cam Ward right now is better than both Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. But I think the Colts have a much better roster than the Titans. I don't know. But I don't expect much from them. I don't expect them to be necessarily good this year. But I am interested to see how Cam Ward adapts to the speed of the NFL. So we will. Damn, Treylon Burks. We will see. I think one of the most interesting stories going into this season is how the Jaguars are going to utilize Travis Hunter. I know it came out that he's going to be wide receiver 1 and I think second string cornerback. I don't know if that means that he's just not going to get any burn at the cornerback position. I do know that this is a okay defense with Josh Hines Allen and Jordan. Like they have some people, but I want to it. Every video, every clip that we have gotten from this team, and let alone from Travis Hunter, has been exceptional. So I expect him to be their best player. You have Eric Armstead. Yeah, he's pretty good. I'm going to talk about this more with C.J. Stroud. Actually, no, I'm not, because I'm going to put into perspective C.J. Stroud's year last year. I'm looking solely at Trevor Lawrence. When does patience run out? When do you need to start showing signs of improvement? I know he had that incredible comeback against the Chargers in the playoffs. 2, 3, maybe 4 years ago? And I understand that if you just look at talent, Trevor Lawrence is an incredible talent. But kind of like, and I'll talk about this obviously when I talk about the AFC West, but kind of like we talk about with Justin Herbert, at what point is we know Trevor Lawrence is a good player, but he has nothing to show for that outside of that one win in the playoffs. I'm not saying that he needs to do a deep playoff run, but it's just like you have Travis Etienne, like I'm looking at this roster, and at least defensively, it has promise. You have Brian Thomas Jr., who was incredible last year, who could have competed for the Rookie of the Year if it wasn't for other, he was kind of on the same level as Malik Neighbors. Probably Malik Neighbors was a little better. I'm just looking, and I'm just when does the patience run out? When does the and again, I'm gonna talk about this more when I talk about Justin Herbert. But when do we stop? When are we going to stop judging these quarterbacks on potential when they've been, how long has it been? 5 years? When Trevor Lawrence has been in the league for 5 years. Like, yes, I think Travis Hunter is going to be the story of this year. But I think an underlining story is, can Liam Cohen, the head coach, what can they do with this team? And that starts with Trevor Lawrence. What are we doing? How many times are you going to be looked at as a top-tier quarterback, or for some people, a top 10 quarterback, yet you have nothing to show for it? again, I think the best thing that happened to Trevor Lawrence this year is getting someone like Travis Hunter, who is a a walking attention magnet in a good way. Not saying he's in a great way because of just how talented he is. Everyone is going to be focused on him, and if he's going to be the first player to solely play both sides of the ball. Like his that's his job, is to be both sides of the ball. Is he going to be the first player to do that? Especially in the grueling NFL, you don't see that too often. So all the attention is going to be on Travis Hunter. And I think it's going to take away from the fact of when I look at their schedule, they have a tough schedule. They got to go with the Chiefs. They got to go against the Chargers, the Rams. It's going to be tough. So I think the attention that Travis Hunter is going to get is going to take away from the fact that I believe that the Jaguars can underachieve. And there has been nothing that I've seen from Trevor Lawrence to say that he is improving. And that, as a person that was one of the most highly recruited and highly evaluated players going into the draft ever, the fact of you're 5 years in and have one playoff win to your name, I didn't say it's Super Bowl. I don't expect that. Like you don't. I get it. There's top tier quarterbacks that's never been to a Super Bowl, but you have one playoff win, which I always think it's interesting. Never mind. We'll talk about that later. But we'll see. I think it's gonna come down to this team and the Texans as the best team in the division, but that's because I feel like they have arguably the best two quarterbacks in the division, and on top of that, I would say the best roster in this division is probably the Texans, and the number two would be the Colts. But the Colts are dealing with some quarterback issues, so I am interested to see what this season looks like from the Jaguars, man. Because if they get off to a bad start, which they very well could, when you see that their first 3 games is against, let me see, their first 4 games. Let's say that. 5 games. Their first 5 games is against, all right, it's the Panthers, cool. But then you got Joe Burrow, C.J. Stroud, Brock Purdy, and the 49ers, and the Chiefs. We'll see. We'll see. And lastly, we have the Tennessee Titans. Or Texans, I'm sorry. We have the Houston Texans, I'm sorry. Who, I think, if they do not win the division, it will be a massive and probably one of the biggest upsets when we talk about divisional winners in this year. When you look at the strength of the Houston Texans, I mean, you have Will Anderson, man. You have Derek Stingley. Like, this team is tough. You have Lassiter. You have Danielle Hunter. There's not, and on top of that, on the offensive side of the ball, you have Nico Collins, John Michie, you have Christian Kirk. I think you still have, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Let me make sure before I say his name. No, he's. Oh yeah, you do. You do. Yeah, I don't. This is a good roster. Now, I am a little concerned because I think the biggest issue that this team faced last year was their offensive line. They had one of the worst offensive lines that we've seen in a while. And I know you got Cam Robinson, but I don't. Your best offensive player or best offensive lineman in Laramie Tunsil, you'll trade to Washington on a team that your biggest glaring weakness was the offensive line. So, as great as this team can be, as much weapons as it can be, as great as this defense can be, because it can be one of the best defenses in football, is C.J. Stroud going to have that much time to get it to his weapons? Which brings me to C.J. Stroud. I think last year was a tough year for C.J. Stroud. I know when you look and he made the playoffs and he won a playoff game against the Chargers, yeah. But if you look at the totality of the season, he didn't have the greatest of seasons. He didn't have the best of seasons, especially from a person that you think had, I think, won Offensive Rookie of the Year, I believe. Just the year before. I'm not going to call it a sophomore slump, but it didn't look too great. But a lot of that can come down to the fact that his offensive line was terrible. The issue is, I don't know if it's going to I know they made some moves this offseason, but they also trade away their best offensive lineman. So I think that they have the roster to win the division. If they don't win the division, something drastically went wrong, in my opinion. Because you also got C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Like, this defense has the potential to be scary good. Like, one of the best defenses in football. You also got Nick Chubb. But are you going to have that much time to get the ball out? I think that was the biggest issue for them last year, as well as injury. I know Tank Dell is going to miss most of the season or all of the season. I know they lost Stephon Diggs last year, and obviously they lost him to free agency this year. I don't know, man. I think C.J. Stroud is going to be better, but how much better? Because again, if your offensive line, you're only as good as everything is on a string. You know, you're only as good as your best and worst unit. And obviously, the best unit for Houston is their defense, more so the back end of the defense. But their worst unit by far is the offensive line. And as we saw last year, C.J. Stroud had a very tough time handling pressure when he was sped up. And he was sped up most of the time. So, you know. But we will see, I guess. But I do think that if we're ranking the division, there's a reason why I started with the AFC South. I don't think there's a lot of question marks. And this, I'm not gonna say the worst, but one, it's not that good. But I will say that the Houston Texans is the crown jewel of this division. And if they don't win it, something drastically went wrong. But on top of that, I don't know if this team is really a championship caliber team. I would have to see. I think they have all the pieces, just that offensive line. That offensive line ain't. If the offensive line is the same as last year, they ain't got no shot. They ain't got no shot, and we will be here again in the beginning or in the middle of the season or the end of the season talking about C.J. Stroud struggled because that offensive line was poured. It was terrible, but we'll see. Oh, and if I'm ranking this division, I have the Texans, Jaguars, Colts, there you have it. That's been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I truly, truly appreciate you guys. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweater, long sleeve, joggers, the links in the description below. I have multiple different colors, multiple different designs. Get your Unpopular Podcast merch today. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get as many subscribers as possible. I can't do it without you guys. If you like the content, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. It means a lot. Please share. Again, I'm trying to grow, and I cannot do it without you guys. Also, for my DSPs, that is Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify. Please follow, please subscribe. It means a lot to me. Again, I'm not just trying to grow the YouTube. I'm trying to grow the podcast as a whole, and I can't do it without the DSPs. I appreciate you guys. If you are subscribed and you like the content, send it to somebody. Let them know, hey, this is good. So, again, please follow, please subscribe, please comment, please rate it, rank it. It means a lot. Also, for my socials, Instagram, TikTok, SoundCloud, or not SoundCloud, Facebook, I post pretty much daily there. I post reels. That's probably the quickest way to get to me. If you keep it respectful, I don't mind. Leave your opinion in the comments. I don't mind going back and forth. I don't mind debating. It just means that you're passionate about whatever we're talking about. You have an opinion, and you're listening to me. All three I appreciate. Again, keep it respectful, and I do not mind you commenting. I do not mind you going back and forth. I appreciate it. And until next time, much love.